The other thing that he called me is he called me an open borders advocate. That's what they always try and say. The restrictionists or the nativists that are against immigration reform, they always try and say the other side are open borders advocates, implying that if we had it our way, we'd open up the borders and let everybody come here, which is not really what we're saying. Now, I took this Roger Gittleson person to the side the very first time I came up here about a month ago when we did our first press conference. I didn't know who he was. I introduced myself to him. And, we agreed basically to disagree. But we talked about this issue. And the first thing that I said to him is that there's a lot more that we agree with here than we disagree about. Now, I know that we have some issues that, you don't maybe you don't want the pathway to citizenship, or they call that amnesty, and we'll talk about that. But the other thing is, I said, I want to make it clear we're not for open borders. We don't believe in that. If anything, comprehensive immigration reform is a security bill. It really is. And so I made that very clear to him, and then for him to go out and just say, well, he's an open borders advocate, just shows that he's not interested in actually trying to sit down and have a constructive conversation about how we solve the problem. He's interested in demagoguery and just trying to make it sound like we're, for anarchy. And that's not what this is all about. Okay. Comprehensive immigration reform basically means that it's a difficult problem. It's got a lot of issues about the problem that are difficult. Everything from the fact that we do have 12 million or so people here living in the shadows that do not have documents, and yes, they came here illegally. We have that issue. We also have the issue of the borders, that the borders are not really secure. They need to be secured more. We don't have workplace enforcement like we're supposed to. There's a lot of reasons why we have the problem of illegal immigration in this country. And if you want to look at solving it, there's a lot of situations that you have to deal with. You can't just deal with them in what they call the piecemeal approach. There are some issues that, frankly, I would agree to pass of immigration reform related issues, such as something called the DREAM Act and something called the Ag Jobs Bill. Those are two standalone pieces of legislation that I probably could support. The reason why I'm not advocating that we pass what they call the piecemeal approach, where you just do a little bill here and a little bill there and eventually it all adds up, is because in order to be able to pass a meaningful comprehensive immigration reform, you kind of need everybody's coalition to stick together and push for it. If we were to allow the DREAM Act to pass. Now, the DREAM Act basically says that if you're a son or daughter of undocumented immigrants, and you yourself are undocumented, you're not a citizen, you were not born here, you came here when you were 2, for example. What the DREAM Act basically said is that you can qualify for in-state tuition. And that one has a shot. It probably does have enough support in the Congress as a standalone bill to pass, but again, we want to kind of, as they say, keep our powder dry. We want to keep everybody that can vote for comprehensive immigration reform in the tent, and that's why no serious advocate for immigration reform is pushing that bill. It's a worthwhile bill. I'd like to see it happen, but I can't allow, or I would not want to allow, some of the advocates in our group to sort of be satisfied with what they got and then just not stick with us to stand together to try and pass immigration reform, because it's going to be tight. We need every vote we can get. Same thing with Ag Jobs. I mean, Ag Jobs is a bill that basically says, all right, if you've been in this country and you've been working in the fields a certain amount of hours per year or a certain amount of days per year, then you could qualify for a pathway towards eventual citizenship. And the reason why they did a standalone bill for ag jobs or agricultural workers as opposed to steel workers or whatever the case may be, is because we do have a shortage of agricultural workers. I mean, make no mistake, somewhere tonight, somebody without documents touched your food. Whether it was in the processing plant that made the pizza dough, or whether it was the guy that cleaned the plates, or whatever the deal is, somewhere along the line, many undocumented immigrants touched your food, because 60 to 80% of all the people that work in the agricultural business in this country are probably undocumented. And so there is a lot of reason, considering that agricultural exports are our #1 export and we certainly need to do as much business as we possibly can do. There's a lot of reasons to pass act jobs, but again, same situation, we're trying to hold our powder. All right, this is a 6-page document. You'll take my word for it, there's 6 pages. This is a table of contents for the latest immigration reform bill that was introduced in Congress. It was introduced in the House by, well, it was written by Luis Gutierrez. It was introduced by Congressman Ortiz of Texas. It's called CIR ASAP, which basically stands for Comprehensive Immigration Reform for America's Security and Prosperity. I'm here to tell you that out of this 6 pages, this is certainly a security bill because I don't know if you can see it, but I highlighted in yellow 3 lines. Out of the 645 pages of this bill, there's three little subheadings that have to do with the legalization of the 12 million people. The amnesty, if you want to call it that, which it's not. But out of 645 pages, there is a discussion about a pathway to legalization for the 12 million people. There's no doubt about that. But it's not an amnesty, and here's the difference. All right, let's say two guys walk into a courtroom because they both have speeding tickets. They were both speeding, and they both agree that they were speeding, but they don't want their insurance premiums to go up, so they're going to try and get out of it if they can, or if they can't, they're going to try and get traffic school to get out of it. Everybody understands what I'm talking about. All right, one guy, he goes there, the police officer that gave him the ticket doesn't show up, the judge dismisses the case, and he's done. He walks away, no ticket on his record. The other guy's not so lucky. The officer shows up. He's got to pay a $500 fine or whatever it is. He's got to go to 2 days worth of traffic school. In the end of the day, he'll also end up with a clean record, but he had to do a lot of things to be able to get that clean record. The other guy just basically walked away scot-free. Well, that's sort of the difference between amnesty and earned legalization. Amnesty is, all right, you were here legally, sign this paper, done, you're free. That's not what anybody is suggesting for comprehensive immigration reform. They're saying, okay, first thing you got to do, you've got to pay for and pass a comprehensive criminal background check both in the state and a federal background check. You're going to have to pay all your taxes. No, the fact of the matter is most of them do pay their taxes. I hate to break this bad news to you, to the Republicans, but the fact is most of them do pay their taxes, but all right, some of them don't. They're going to have to pay their taxes, including penalties and interest. They're going to have to get right with every aspect of the law. If they do not pass that criminal background check, they're out. And you know what? There are gang members that are illegal immigrants in this country. There are criminals. You know, maybe 100 and something thousand of them. We can't weed them out now. If we pass comprehensive immigration reform, we'd have a shot at getting rid of these people. And everybody that wants comprehensive immigration reform, they want to get rid of the people that would not qualify, and those people would not qualify. You've got to learn English. I mean, it goes on and on. There's a lot of different things that you have to do, and then you go to the theoretical back of the line. Well, the fact of the matter is that most of these people are from Mexico. There is no line from Mexico. There is no line. There are 5,000 visas per year for unskilled workers to come from Mexico, theoretically. But 5,000 compared to how many millions are here, it's nothing. There is no real line to come from Mexico. So to say, well, you've got to go to the back of the line is a little bit disingenuous because they're, what line? So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to sign up for this program. They're going to have to stay right with the law for probably about a decade. They're going to have to keep paying their taxes and learn all the civics and the English and all this other stuff. And then in 10 years, theoretically, once all the people that are already in the system ahead of them will have a chance to get their documents, then these people could become citizens. And ultimately, I think that's a good thing. All right. So in immigration reform, there's a lot more to it, as I was saying, than just this earned legalization that's just a few pages out of the 645 pages. It's a security bill. Here's something that nobody knows, and I want to, you'll be some of the first to know this. All right.